All right. Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Creators Corner here at the TubeBuddy Live. And really excited to have our guest here today. We're going to talk about growing your business during tough times. You guys know our guest very, very well, it seems like, from all the posts that we've been sharing leading up to this session. So I'm just going to bring him on and ask him to introduce himself. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Good, Rob. Thanks for having me on the show. It's going really well.
Awesome. Really excited to have you on, man. For a lot of people there, actually, a lot of people already know you. We've been, sharing this on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and familiar with your work, your channel, your content. But for those that aren't, just a quick introduction of who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Chris Do. I'm the founder of the Futur. It's an online education and content platform. We teach creatives how to make money doing what it is they love. And you're seeing me here in my home studio under the whole self-isolation thing.
Yeah, of course. Stay home, right? Hashtag stay home. But yeah, no, really awesome to have you on. I think it's a really timely conversation. We scheduled this kind of, I think, before everything started happening, so I had a different playbook for what this content interview was going to be, but I had to kind of shift a little bit quickly. But first, before we jump in, I want to say what's up. We got John joining us. We got Olya that's joining us, Mitch from San Francisco joining us, Racho, and Dee Niman that's joining us as well. So guys, as always, this is a conversation. Me and Chris are on the screen, but I want to make sure you guys know you're more involved as well. And so make sure that you share your questions. I've got a number of questions here, but I am more than happy to throw them all aside and ask your questions because this is really to serve you guys. So Chris, let's just jump right into it. Okay, so you work with a lot of creatives, right? That's the audience you serve, helping them, create content, talking about their business, growing their businesses as a creative. It's an interesting time right now. It's very tough for a lot of creatives, but also some creatives are doing really well. What's your thoughts right now with, how as a creative you can grow your business during a moment like this in history that we're going through?
Yeah, this is unprecedented. And what we're seeing is this general flow of money that happens, the stream is frozen rock solid. So money isn't moving. It seems like for a minute that everybody can be insulated from this with the exception of a few industries, but everybody's being impacted because when the money slows down, there are going to be challenges you're gonna have to face. Now, in times of crisis like this, it's going to test the systems you've already built. So those that have been really good at preparing for this moment in time are going to feel a little less pain than those that are literally like working from paycheck to paycheck, living month to month. It's going to be devastating for those people. So I hope wherever you're listening to this piece of content, that your local government is really doing all they can to assist you. And I feel like those that need the help the most are going to suffer the most. So what can you do in a time like this? Well, we know that our ability to communicate with people face-to-face is going to be severely limited. We also know that people who've launched initiatives or who want to get going are very much and rightfully concerned about their own economic welfare. So they're going to slow projects down. They're going to slow their projects down, and this is going to impact you. So if you've ever had an opportunity to work on your website, to build case studies, to develop a knowledge product or something that helps you build a passive income business, this may be a great time. If you work in spaces where you're providing and manufacturing the very much needed medical supplies and testing and related businesses to the supply chain of those industries, it could be a good time for business. If you're in the shipping, delivery, and e-commerce space, it should be a good time for you because people just can't get out there.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. I want to ask this question here from Erico, good friend of mine. It's actually really interesting. Erico is a brilliant photographer, brilliant creative. I saw him in California last year, and so he's wondering, how can a creative generate sales right now that I can't physically meet up for a shoot? So yeah, really interesting, really good question. A lot of photographers out there right now as well. So yeah, what's your thoughts on that, man?
That's going to be really tough. I think photographers, especially in people who in the event spaces, event planning and hospitality, are going to get hit really hard by this. It makes a lot of sense that this is going to happen. So your ability to go out and shoot an event and cover it, it's gone because there's no event to talk about and you don't want to be out there anyways. But there are a couple of things that you can do. If you're in the photography video business, I think going out in very isolated areas and shooting those sunrise, sunset things that could be part of your video archive and library could be really good. I saw a video the other day about a skateboarder skating throughout, I think, Los Angeles during the shutdown. And this was really eerie. Like, it's kind of like the film 28 Days Later. You get to have this enormous backdrop, this set piece for free. So that's somebody just really thinking about how to do that and not endangering anybody, because I want to talk about that. Like, we don't want to risk spreading the contagion, the virus, if at all possible. So don't do that in public spaces. But you get these beautiful scenic backdrops for nothing, and there's no other time to do it than now. You could possibly sell some of that footage to news programs who are looking for like the impact, and I'm pretty sure they're looking for like how life is impacted and interrupted during this time. So if you're in Italy and you're in Spain or Tokyo, Singapore, wherever you're at, maybe you can show a little video clip of that. And again, just be safe when you're doing it. So let's talk about your workflow and your process. I also think it's a great time to develop tool sets or toolkits of the things that you use all the time, things that we take for granted that everybody must know how to do. I know LUTs and color presets for Lightroom and Adobe Photoshop are good. Maybe there's texture packs that you can put together, retouching brushes, or maybe this is the time for you to take advantage of launching a brand new business that you've always wanted to do, but were maybe too busy to do. A lot of times people say that, like, I would do this if I had more time. Well, right now you have a lot of time on your hands, so make the most of it.
Yeah, no, good. Really good advice there, Chris. Yeah, like sort of more expanding on the knowledge that you have and kind of seeing what other things you can offer your audience, right? So especially from, from remotely and from a distance, like I know that you guys have the academy, like there's online courses. What's your thoughts on that, sort of taking some of those skills and sharing it with your audience in that sort of format?
Yeah, I think people are hungry right now and they don't have a lot to do. And so they're searching for you possibly right now. A couple things that they could be doing. One is they could be looking for somebody to work with down the line. And that'll be good. So it's time to get your website together, to have that conversation started, so that when people return to work and they need your services, there's going to be like the floodgates that open and all this work that's coming out. Now, let's talk about other things that you can do more proactively. You could probably develop a course and start to share that with the world. You could live stream it like what we're doing right now. You can put it together as a free mini course to kind of test the waters and cut your teeth on it. Or you could develop a full-fledged course, sit down, write, produce, and beta test it, and get that sucker out there.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good advice. Okay, I want to ask you, as far as like, I'm seeing a lot of creatives out there that specialize in one specific thing, and they're being tempted to be more generalists. So, opening up to other services, obviously to survive. What's your thoughts on that? Is that smart just for survival's sake as a business? Or should you just stick to your guns, stick to what you know, stick to being a specialist?
Yeah, so I have two general approaches to this. The first is this. First one is, if you're starving, if you're not sure you can pay rent or whatever, do whatever you need to do within the law, within your own ethics and moral guidelines, but do what you got to do. There's no shame, no judgment on that. And this is not forever. It's just what you have to do right now. So if it means, I don't know, stocking the warehouse at Amazon because they're hiring 100,000 people. I think Walmart's hiring a couple 100,000 people. Do that. And they're paying overtime. Okay. If you have to survive and this is what it takes to survive, then do that. But I don't ever think, generally speaking, moving away from being a highly specialized person to being a generalist is ever a good long-term business strategy. Let's take some examples. Let's look at this. Let's say you're an attorney and you're a really good attorney and you're very niched down into working with nonprofits and all your clients are gone for whatever reason. Is now a good time to become an auto mechanic? Is now a good time to become a chef if you don't have those skills already? I just don't think that makes for a great argument, in my opinion. And I know what it can feel like you're in the water, you're drowning, you're gasping for air, and you'll grab anything that's out there. I think if it's not truly the case, you're acting in a very desperate manner. I just generally don't like it. And most people who ask me this question aren't really specialized anyways to begin with, and they're fearful, so they're going to default to like going even broader than they are currently. I just don't think that's a good long-term strategy.
Yeah, good answer. Good answer. Yeah, I mean,
it's now a good time to be.
Yeah, it's always good to just stay in your lane long term. But yeah, really good advice, man. I think that's something that needs to be said. Like you need to just do what it takes to survive. Like I've got some friends that are creatives, they're photographers, you know, speaking of Erico's question. And right now, weddings, for example, and those gigs, they're not coming through, right? So it's really important. Like they've taken those Amazon, like those warehouse jobs, those construction jobs that are still happening in our city, you know, because you just got to do what you got to do to survive. And that's just like, that's just a very grown up thing to do. So I applaud those people that are doing that. You know, it's not easy. Okay, right now, should people be promoting their paid content, their workshops, their online courses, their, you know, those like promoting versus continuing to give free content?
That's a very,
What's the
that's going to
balance?
require, that's a very individual question. And I really don't know. So I'm going to try to understand this and give you a very broad-based answer.
Yeah.
Like for right now, we've made some of our content free. We've permanently, or for the time being, reduced the cost of all our courses 20%. We've also been able to finally get off the ground two things that we've been working on a long time: a program to give better pricing to students, active students, and veterans, people who serve in the military. So those are really awesome things that we're doing, and that's how we're adjusting. We're also adjusting our content so that it's more topical, and I think there's a lot of people out there looking for information on how to survive this, how to plan financially for it. And so, of course, we have to adjust it. And making those adjustments is really important. But I don't want to make like an entire life, career, business decision based on one moment. And this is a moment. And that's what we have to recognize, that at some point we'll get through this. I don't know how long, but we'll get through this. And then things are going to return back to normal. So if you all of a sudden flood all your content out there and do it for free, you're training people like, this is what it's worth. It's worth free. And it's going to be hard to come back from that. I always feel like from a positioning point of view, it's better to be a higher price premium product, and occasionally, depending on the situation, to discount or to put it on sale, but then to return to that normal price point. But it's very hard for like low end budget commodity kind of items and courses to start at the bottom and all of a sudden say like, oh, it's $1,000 now. You train people to get used to the perceived value, and it's kind of a difficult thing. You could launch and say, this is normally a $3,000 class, but during this time, I recognize that money is tight. I'm going to open up this course to the first 100, 200 people for free.
Yeah.
So that you anchor high, and then you offer like a discount or a special occasion for what's going on. It's
great. Good advice, man. Yeah, it is hard to set that expectation that this is what your content's worth. It's free. There's a really good comment here. Yesterday we had Luria Petrucci and David Foster. They have a brand called Livestreaming Pros, and so what they've actually done with their course is they've discounted it. I think normally it's something like $500. It's now $199 or $149. But they've also, because of this situation, only because of this moment in time, they put it to pay what you can with a minimum. So it's an interesting offer. It's an interesting offer, and I think actually what they're getting is they're actually getting people paying more, to support them, and because they've just given so much to their community. But yeah, it's a really interesting model that they've really put out there. Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah, thanks, Chris. So we've got a question here from Jean Pack, a good friend from New York. She says, has your tone to your audience shifted? I guess.
Yeah, it has. And you'd have to be like a robot not to shift the tone. I think right now, more so than ever, we have to come together as a community, as a village, as a tribe, as a country, as a nation, as a world, as a population. It's what we really need to do. And I'm kind of encouraged by some of the things that I'm seeing, shifts in opinion and about how we can help one another out, because we realize we're all really interconnected. And I'll give you an example. One of our fans from China said, like, the situation seems to be under control here in China. And he says, I understand that you have a shortage of supplies. So he went out of his way to send us 200 face masks and to also send us toilet paper all the way from China. This is amazing. I told my wife that. She's like, wow, it's so cool that people in your community would do that. And to the example you gave earlier, this idea of pay what you want, I think that works once you've established a relationship and a connection and you've built up a community. If you were just out of the gate right now, tomorrow, launching a course and you've done squat in terms of building a community, I just don't think that idea of reciprocity is going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, very true, very true. Awesome, that's a really good answer. I'm gonna ask the question here from Erico again. Erico, thanks for all these questions, man. Keep them coming. And I see Dole Whip Dad, Gardens of Blessing TV, Peck Drywall is here as well. Good to see you guys. Guys, drop your questions in. I've got questions here ready. If you guys don't share any, but I'd rather ask your questions.
How are people submitting their questions?
They're sending them through the comments. So they're just sending them through here. So I'm watching them for us. On all the channels.
On all the channels, I see.
Yeah. It aggregates it. Like I'll show you later.
I need to check this out. I'm very excited about what you're doing here.
I'll show you later.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay. So Erico's saying, should content creators on YouTube make videos about coronavirus or continue with their regular content? I think we kind of touched on this a little earlier, like a little bit of like the evergreen content versus the now content. Obviously, there's lots of spikes in views for this type of CV content. I don't know if we're allowed to say this word actually on YouTube right now, but we're just gonna say it. But yeah, what's your thoughts on this, Chris? Like, should people create? Because I know that you guys are addressing it, right? On your channel, you guys are addressing, how to deal with this right now.
Yeah. So what we did was we went on Twitter. I like to have a conversation with my community. So Twitter, I can get feedback really fast. I asked them, like, I know we're going through tough times. What can we do, the future, do to help you during this transition period? And a lot of people said, hey, we don't know what to believe. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I'm like, okay, put that in there. And then I was thinking, and some of us are just feeling really anxious and nervous. People can't sleep at night. I was thinking, okay, I need to find a doctor who knows what they're talking about with coronavirus. And I need to find a doctor who can help us mentally, emotionally deal with the trauma that a lot of people are facing right now, the uncertainty. It's driving people up the wall. And so luckily I have friends in high places. I make a few phone calls and people come on the show and give that information. And like we had a live stream today and we have one tomorrow. Actually, we have two. Two of them are just going to be evergreen content because I just think there's so much of this COVID out there that people are going to get worn out, that we're being overexposed to this, and no pun intended. Here's the other thing. If you don't do your due diligence and really research, you're saying that I know this, and you might be part of the misinformation campaign. That's a really dangerous place to be in. So if you don't know what you're doing, please don't make any content about this because you're going to send people in the wrong direction. And plus you're gobbling up very valuable, dare I say, like internet bandwidth right now, that people who do need to communicate this information, people who are doing a great job, need the space, the bandwidth to do this. I notice it's been really slow out there right now, like on different platforms. It's chugging along because so many people are using the internet.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, everything's slowing down for us as well. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good advice. What's your thoughts between live stream? Because you guys are doing a lot of live streams. I think this leans on a lot of things about also what you mentioned earlier about some of those things that you wish you could do, some of those things that you guys normally weren't doing before this pandemic was happening. You're forced to be at home, your team's remote. What do you think about live stream versus pre-recorded, uploaded content as normal on YouTube?
Yeah, this is a mixed bag. I think you have to play to your strengths. I don't think people care so much that it's either live or pre-recorded. What they care is like, I'm going to give you my time, give me something valuable to me, help me out. So people who aren't really naturally good and spontaneous and coherent when they speak, definitely write a script and then record it and edit it together, add some really nice B-roll, add some graphics or something to really drive the point home. That's a great way of doing content. To my main content people like Matthew and Greg, both dropped a video this week on both our respective channels, and they're strong pieces of content. They're funny, they're engaging, they're enlightening. Me, I'm really like into having conversation with people, and I got to tell you, now that I'm used to it, I turn up for this. So if somebody wants to have a conversation with me, the conversation's live and I can see your reaction, it's bi-directional. I love that we're trying to figure out how to do more of that versus just us broadcasting in a one direction. Yeah,
that's great. That's good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Quick question here, kind of a fun question. What is so Dole Whip Dad, Jeff Bates, wondering, I'd love to hear about the name. What is the future? Why the name? What's the backstory?
Okay, well, we're looking forward. I want to be positive. I want to be optimistic. But I'm not talking about like looking so far into the future that we can't be present to what's going on right now. And a while back, I had a business partner. It was previously, the channel was called The School. And I was thinking, I need to come up with a new name. We got to create our own brand because we're going different directions. And I just couldn't figure out a name. And then I was reading something he wrote. It was just kind of hilarious. And he was like going on a rant. It's like, in the future, creatives will have a seat at the table with the decision makers. In the future, creatives will be respected and trusted as advisors just as much as attorneys and doctors. He kept going on and on. I'm like, what am I going to call this company? Well, he's already talking about it. He's like, in the future. Well, we'll be the future and we'll exist now. We'll exist today. And naturally, if you spell the future, it's taken across everything. So we had to just spell it a little bit differently. And one of my favorite typefaces of all time is Futura. And Futura is spelled Futura. So I'm like, okay, future, Futura. We'll just drop the E. And so now the way I explain is, it's the future. Just drop the ego. That's how you spell it.
There you go. There you go. Jeff, hopefully that is something that's a fun story. That now you know the backstory. There you go. So we got a question here from Aga. Really good question. Again, might be a hard one to answer, but maybe for you, Chris, this is an easy one. What's the one thing a service provider could focus on right now? Virtual workshop, product development, building an email, collaborations, all of the above, prioritizing that.
You know what? What I would do is, this is, again, a very individual question. If you're in the service space and you're building something for a client, I would start to engage with my client, ask them questions about, look, things are upside down. Are there things that we can help you with today when you're back up to speed? Or are there opportunities for innovation to something that you've been meaning to build, like a back-end system for something? And you got to find out from that person what they think is valuable and engage them that way. Now, if they don't give you any good information because they're like running around like a chicken without its head on, what you could do is probably spend a lot of time studying how they communicate, how they interact, and look for opportunities. And then perhaps sit down and say, look, I've scanned your social channels, I've scanned your site, I've been looking at your app, I've noticed a couple of things, and just connect dots for them and say, like, would you be available for 45 minutes while I just share some of the insights, my observations? And that could be very valuable. This may not yield work for you, and you need to understand that not everything you do at this point, especially in this moment in time, should be about a transaction in your favor. But what I like to think about this, there's a goodwill bank, and I want to put a lot of goodwill into that bank so that when it's time to cash a check, it's not going to bounce, right? So people think about you in these tough times, that you didn't scatter, that you didn't run, that you're proactive and think of very smart strategic business ideas. This might be an opportunity for you to show them a side of your mind and your brain and the way you think than you would have under normal circumstances.
It's good. It's good. So speak to your audience, really, right? So yeah, speak to your audience, whatever channel that is, whatever social channel, or email them directly, or call them up even, right? See if you can
preferably.
Set up a call. Yeah. Preferably. Yeah. I think you've got the video on your channel about that.
Yes, I do.
We've got a question here from Dakari Carter on LinkedIn Live. He's asking, what is one type of content more mom and pop types of businesses should focus on creating right now? Would that be different than a like an online based type of business?
Okay, so we'll make that assumption that it's a brick and mortar kind of mom and pop, make it super relatable. You're in small town USA or small town Canada, and it's just very small. I would say probably under $300,000 annual revenue kind of business. What are they to do? What should they be working on, right? Again, I think it's a great time to look at systems and processes and to see if you can innovate. For example, right now, almost everybody at our office is working from home. There's only a few who have elected to show up at the office. And we're starting to figure out like how much more productive we can be, or where there are gaps in communication, or how much tougher certain aspects of working remotely and kind of being disconnected. So we're forced to learn things. So you may discover all kinds of things about your inventory, about how you acquire customers. You may start to look at the user experience from the minute that they walk into your store or your restaurant, about how you can do things differently, and maybe work on telling your story. Now, there are a couple other things I want to share. One is there's a chain of restaurants, kind of fast casual restaurants that I love to frequent. I saw them doing something that I thought, gosh, they're really innovative. That's super smart, so timely, and so obvious. Right now, nobody's really going to restaurants because you can't. You can order to go. but I'm pretty sure they're seeing this drop in terms of traffic and revenue. Rather than sit around and complain about what's going on or throw their hands up in kind of defeat, what they're doing is they're looking at, what do we have right now? We have a lot of inventory and we know suppliers. So instead of selling already pre-cooked meals, which is what they do as a fast casual restaurant, they're building food boxes. So here's the vegetable box, here's the pasta and bread box, and here's the fruit box. So you can order these things that they already have and they can't do anything with it. It's going to spoil and they're going to ship it out. But here's like what I think is really cool and funny is that with every order comes rolls of toilet paper. And I was like, okay, that's cool. That's reacting and being in the moment, because people have been hoarding toilet paper. And it's kind of just it's like a fortune cookie, or it's like the orange that you get at a restaurant when you're at an Asian restaurant, like after the meal. And it's kind of nice. It's thoughtful. It's a little funny, and it's very topical.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's like the what is it? The seasonal fruit or whatever after you get sushi, right? They give you like oranges,
Yeah.
or like sliced oranges or something. Yeah, that's
it's a
really
nice little
smart.
palate cleanser.
That's really smart. Yeah, I don't know. They're not doing it here in Canada or in Vancouver, but I have heard in the States, there's some cities where you can like basically order, because they're putting it up on Instagram, these produce markets, and they've already like boxed it for you. And then you just drive, you pay them online, you pop your hood, like your trunk, and then they put the box in your trunk. There's no contact, and away you go. Like you get your produce fresh. Yeah, it's smart. It's smart. So being innovative.
Yes.
Curbside pickup. Yeah. It's really smart. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question there, Agnes. Okay, I want to ask about, because you, in one of your videos, you talk about how creatives have an addiction, and it's an addiction to new ideas, shiny objects. That's kind of hard right now. Like it's hard already in like when things are normal, but even more so, I think now, kind of going back to the specialist versus generalist idea. What's some advice there, man? Like as far as like, as a creative, to not be pulled into those shiny objects right now that are being offered at you?
Yeah, this one's a tricky one, because it's hard to know from where you are today if what you're looking at is a distraction, a shiny object, or actually a business opportunity. It is tough for me to say, because right now what we're doing is we're scrambling. We're trying to adapt to the situation. So I'm throwing up things. I'm fully kind of aware of that, and I tell my team probably half my ideas suck right now, because I'm trying to adapt and be really nimble on my feet, and I'm okay with half of them failing. But in the spirit of doing new and innovative ideas, it's the cost of entry. You have to be willing to put up some duds to be able to have a breakthrough. I'm not sure how many ideas this fast casual restaurant has worked through, but this latest execution, who knows if it worked or not? I like it, which doesn't mean everybody likes it. Who knows? So I think if this is a great moment, a kind of an inflection point in your life and your career, to step back, because usually we're just putting out fires all the time, right? So we're constantly chasing something, a deadline, a client, we're dealing with a bad employee or a coworker or something like that. So we're just always playing catch up. Now that river is frozen and you have a lot of time to think and to pontificate on the things that you want to do with your life, it's a great moment to reflect on your goals and your ideas, and maybe that project that you thought about like years ago that never got off the ground is still burning a hole inside your heart. I don't know if that's shiny object at that point, but you can tell usually if you just read something on the internet and it's like, let's go there. That's probably shiny object, because you're just being very reactionary, just desperately grabbing for things. I don't know if that's going to help anybody, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. It's hard to filter through and kind of discern what is a shiny object versus what is something that has long-term capabilities there too. So I guess again, it is again something, one of those things that you just need to. It's very like individual and personal, and hopefully that'll help somebody out there. Desiree Martinez has a comment here. Chris makes some of my favorite Instagram carousels. So, thanks, Desiree. I know you've got an awesome team. You've got a team that is for different things. I see there's Mark and all those guys.
Yes.
I'm curious. There are businesses out there, Chris, that are growing and they're thriving and they're hiring. And so, with the mindset of hiring, there's a bigger pool of people to hire from. There's more freelancers to kind of hire from. Any advice there to, make sure that you're vetting properly for people that are looking to outsource some of their work, some of their tasks, especially in the creative side?
Yeah. So again, it's one of these situations where if you don't have a lot of opportunity, you just have to take what you can get. If there's an opportunity knocking at your door, do your best due diligence and see if this is legitimate. One surefire way of testing the legitimacy of a potential deal is to talk about money. I know people are not comfortable doing this, but talk about money and get your 50% up front. And when you get that check and when that check clears or when it's been deposited into your account, then you know it's a legitimate thing. And right now, people are moving very fast. So opportunities that might not normally be presented to you might come your way. And I don't want to look at a gift horse in the mouth. So if they're willing to pay and pay fairly, by all means, if it feels right, go for it. But also kind of listen to your gut, your instincts there. And certain red flags start popping, like they're saying weird things and weird ambiguous terms and things that are contradicting, and you can't like lock them down on anything. Chances are they're looking to scam you maybe or take advantage of vulnerable people right now. And if that's what you're sensing, just trust your gut and walk away.
Good point. Good advice. Sounds good. All right. I'm just going to go through some of these comments here and see if there are any questions. I want to make sure that we're addressing those.
Okay.
Sounds good. I think we're good. A lot of really good comments here. I want to talk about your YouTube videos. This is a channel. This is something that comes up a lot on our channel. How long should a video be? And if they were to look at your channel, they'll be confused because there's some videos that are like 2 minutes and they're killing it, and then there's some videos that are like over 2 hours and they're like, they're killing it as well. So what's your thoughts around how long a video should be? Really curious, and how you guys kind of choose, because you could easily shorten down and take like the highlights from a longer video, but you guys are obviously doing well with the longer ones. Probably speaks really well to you as a speaker and educator that you're able to, hold on to that attention for that long. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Like, what's your advice for people thinking, how long should my video be?
You can have a multi-tiered content strategy. It doesn't have to be like one magic bullet that's like, that's all I'm ever going to do in my life. Because if anything, you need to be able to try and experiment and do lots of different things and see what works and adjust as you go. And the way that you do that is through frequency, and then sitting back each and every single time you release a video, whether it sucked or not, to really try to make some educated guesses as to why it worked or why it didn't work. And this is just attrition. You go through it and you learn lots of different things. In the past, we would do live streams that didn't get great numbers. There was a hardcore group of people who'd show up and wanted these deeper discussions. They liked the idea that there's moments of spontaneity and that the conversation would meander, because once we do the cut downs, they're all gone. The conversation has been sanitized, if you will. And you notice this with a lot of other people who don't do live streams. You'll see that they do a lot of jump cuts. They'll say something and their hands are in a different position. They're like, oh, like that, because they're chopping up the thing. They're not used to speaking in fluid, coherent sentences. They have to chop up their video, and that works for them. No problem there. So what we wanted to do is to test this idea. Can we do longer form content and get the same or maybe even better views and subscribers? And so what we had to do was to show up. What do I mean by that? We had to sit down and really plot and plan, potentially even build props or frameworks or prompts for people to think about and try to really teach something. And when you do that, if they're interested in the topic, they're going to stick around. So one of our higher performing videos, probably one of our longest and highest performing videos, was about how to grow your Instagram followers by 10,000 a week. It's super clickbaity title. I get it. And sometimes you have to do that. And it was a live stream, unrehearsed, unscripted, and it has almost 700,000 views. And I think it's an hour long. It's a really long one. And here's why my videos are so long, because I see the complaints too. For every 90 nice comments, there's like 5 that just like, what is this? It's wasting my time, right? And it's because the way I like to teach is not just to give you the tactics, like go do this right now. I want to explain the larger context of what's happening and what you may not see in terms of the dots, so that when we get to the tactics, you're bought in and you understand why we need to do a certain thing. Like I'm now recently just a fan of World War II documentaries, and having expert storytellers tell me the condition before, during, and after just gave me so much understanding of the nuance of what's going on geopolitically, that I just feel like I'm more informed and can pull away life lessons much bigger than they went here, they lost that battle, right? So I got to pull away a lot more. And so I think the people who are deep learners, who are just genuinely curious, I do my best to keep you engaged, to keep it fun, keep it light and entertaining, but like full of value. So here's the short answer. Now this is probably for the cut down. The content should only be as long as it needs to be to communicate the idea. Don't fill it with a lot of air just because you want it to be longer. Conversely, don't cut something down because you heard like 5 minutes, the gold amount of time. If your video can sustain itself in terms of delivering more and better information throughout the time, by all means do it that way and you'll be rewarded for it.
Good advice. Good advice. Yeah, hopefully that's helping a lot of people out there, because I know our community is always kind of thinking, you know, you hear from different experts, 10 minutes is this magic number, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, there's no magic golden number. Yeah, there's no magic golden number, but yeah, no, thanks for addressing that. Shelly Saves says that she really loves your videos, Chris, loves the workshop ones the most. And she also really likes the ones around pricing advice. I think this is one of the things that you do as a, somebody that talks to creatives and has a channel around, branding and creative and building a business around it, is that you're not afraid to talk about money, right? Like you'll address how do you double your, what you're charging your clients. I think recently you guys just, put that video up. How do you, make sure that you're getting paid and all these things? So speak to that a little bit with creators out there that, especially right now, like it might be a little hard to get that payment or get that invoice paid. Like, what's your thoughts on that? How do you set that up?
Okay, so before I answer your question, this is one of those contextual things. I know a lot of people feel this way. Like if we just were able to be a fly on the wall of a firm that we respected, we're able to listen in on how they talk to our clients or see how they bid or how they respond to a client objection, we'd all be better for it. But the problem is, especially within the creative community, there's this scarcity mindset or this fear that people would judge them for flossing, for flexing on them, right? So if I disclose my numbers or the way I respond to clients when they say certain things, and if 1,000 people did the same thing, there's less for me. That's how a lot of people feel. And so they don't want to share. Conversely, if they took down a big client and they were able to very smoothly turn a very bad situation to a smooth situation, if they talk about that openly and give nuance to it, then they're going to feel like, oh, that person is just flexing hard right now, just talking about how good they are. So for those two reasons, I'm sure there's 1,000 more reasons, people don't share information. And when I was kind of coming up in the industry, I felt lost. I felt like there's nobody I could call and ask. It's not like you can call a competitor and say, hey, congratulations on winning that job. What'd you do differently? You mind if I see your pitch and your bid? They would just laugh at you and hang up. So that's why so little of this information is out there for creatives by creatives. It's out there from business people, but they have a whole different set of experiences. So I too was part of that camp. I didn't want to share this information thinking, how are people going to take this? Are people going to judge me? Are they going to think I've got a hidden agenda? And to this day, people still think that. Well, I put it out there. I started to share how we charge, how we overcome objections, what we did to win a pitch. When we lost $1 million job, I shared it. We shared it all, and we told it in juicy, horrific, gory details. And then what we found out was a community showed up for it. They were appreciative. They were thankful. I get messages on DM like every single day from multiple channels saying to me, they used to charge $300 to do a project and now they're up to $30,000. This is not a small increment in improvement. This is a seismic exponential improvement, right? So I think we as a creative community need to just get used to talking about numbers and sharing openly. So I'm going to encourage everybody watching this on the multiple platforms that you're streaming to right now. I want you to be brave. I want you to be courageous in this moment and find something that you want to ask that you think in polite company, we don't ask that. And I'll do my best with Rob to answer those questions as transparently as I can, as much as I know. Okay, so I'm ready. So if anybody wants to know anything, I will tell you because I have nothing to hide.
Awesome, Chris. I appreciate that, guys. So, take Chris up on this. I mean, there's this opportunity right here, but I know, Chris, you do a lot of live streams on your channel as well.
Yeah.
Where, I envy you, man. You've got a team that helps you out. You got guys behind the scenes, putting all the. So
you're a one-man band, right?
Yeah, right now I am. Yeah, usually we have a couple moderators, but no, today I'm just me. So your live streams are awesome, and you guys go like, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes.
We'll do 3 hours.
3 hours. See,
3 hours. Then you know what they do? The team will look at me like, let's end this because we're tired. Like we can't stay focused for that long.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
This is good. Okay, there's a question here from Olya. So I was going to ask you this, but I've got a follow-up question for this. She's asking, who is a good leader from your point of view? I mean, there's so many, of course, and I know you read a lot of books and you're on top of everything. So this might be we'll see. We'll see what your thoughts are. Do you remember the first moment when you realized that people listen to you and want to follow you and your ideas? What was that? What was that turning point, man?
I remember this point. So thank you very much for that question, Olya. And you've been doing a really good job, Rob, on reading the names because I'd be freaking out over these names. Okay, so here's the thing. We're making videos on YouTube. This is circa 2014 with my former business partner, Jose Caballero, who pulled me into this whole YouTube thing to begin with, because without him, I have to say, I would not be doing this. So I have a debt of gratitude in terms of like what he did for me there. Now, we were making videos and we were kind of just, I don't know how else to say it, pretty haphazard, very lackadaisical about like the work that needed to be put in to plan and prepare a show. Mostly because we're both very confident. He has a wealth of knowledge. I have a wealth of experience, and he's very confident on camera. I wasn't at that time. And we would just wing it. It's like Starsky and Hutch and Turner and Hooch or whatever. We would just like riff off each other and we would just make it work. Sometimes it was good and sometimes it wasn't. But the first time that I sat down to work on the content, to sit down and write a deck and to plan and to formulate like a cohesive structure to the show, and that video was about logo and identity design branding for Ollie's, this remote fishing lodge off of the coast of Canada, the West Coast, right? So we did this and people started to turn up. They were like watching the videos, they were commenting, sharing, and it really quickly became our top performing video, the most watched video on our channel by like a huge amount. And so I started to realize the power that a platform like YouTube or any kind of online streaming network gives to a content creator. If you have something to say, if you put in the work and you practice at this, people will show up for you and they'll want to listen, and they like hearing these stories. And guess what? It's because nobody else is sharing them. It's not like I'm some kind of genius sharing things that people don't know. It's like I have relatively little competition. And so what I wanted to do was take my years of experience, at that point, probably 17 or 18 years of working as an independent business owner, doing commercials and music videos for some of the biggest brands and the biggest bands in the world, coupled with my over 10 years of being coached by a business coach and 15 years of teaching at Art Center, put all that together, and I started to work on this thing and present it to people. And to my surprise and delight, people showed up and they asked for more, and they kept asking for more information on X, Y, and Z. And I kept doing that. The more I did that, the better I got at communicating on this platform, and the more people showed up. So to this point, we have, I think, 750,000 subscribers on our channel, and it feels really wonderful. I gotta say, I didn't do this to become famous or even necessary to build a business from it. I just wanted to teach, and I love teaching. It just so happened that we lucked out and we built a business around this idea of teaching.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you're a great teacher, man. And I see that you do a lot of your videos, these long form ones are workshop based, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in a room, it's live, you're in person, and you're answering their questions on the fly, you're teaching.
Yeah.
And so that's an awesome format. Obviously you guys got different angles and it looks really nice. But the content I think is the most solid. So Olya, hopefully that answers your question there. I got a bit of a question / more of a comment here from Shelly Sage on Facebook Live. She says it's really scary as a new coach and consultant to try and define a price and feel like you need to justify it to clients to prove your worth. I've wrestled with this, lowballing myself, selling myself short, and being scared that my price is too high.
Yeah.
So I think that's a common thing, right? Like people thinking
Yes.
that they're just overpriced.
Yeah, if I had $1 for every creative who asked me that or felt that way, I'd be probably sitting on a private island somewhere today. So creatives are people pleasers. It's our nature to make other people happy. And part of making people happy is not saying a price that makes them uncomfortable. We're also very conflict averse. I say this, we, like not the royal we, like literally, like I feel that myself, you know? And I feel like I don't want to create tension where tension doesn't have to be. So what happens is I start to negotiate in my own mind against myself and against my own best interest. So if I was thinking $300, I might say to the client, $225. How do you feel about that? You know, and that's not a good way to do it. If you think your price is too high, the person who should let you know is not yourself. The person who should let you know is your client. Really, that's what it comes down to, right? So when you float a number out there, and this is the great thing about dialogue and saying things, it's very temporary. So if you were to pay $500 an hour for this service, would that feel like in line with what you're thinking? And just be quiet, be comfortable. What Blair will say, just count to 3. And if they're like, no, that's fine. Yeah, we could do that. That's telling you a couple of things. They see value in what you do relative to the price you charge. And the second thing I hear from that is maybe I asked for too little. I don't know. I'm going to do a good job here. And if they love it and they keep hiring me, I'm going to start to move my rate up. And this is how, you know, the market lets you know what it wants to pay. So don't artificially cut your price down before you have this opportunity to let the market tell you what's up, right? If they're selling Swatch watches, which used to be a thing when I was growing up, at $65 a watch, I'm dating myself here, and you pay it, then they like, that must be the price. They do a lot of research and analysis, but unfortunately creatives don't do that. So float out a price, to have the courage to say it and just be silent and still and see what happens. And then when they hire you, and if you think it's a lot of money, work your butt off, make it worth it.
Good point. Good point. I'm gonna quick follow up here because everyone might be thinking this too. But then what do you say? How do you address it if they say it's a little too high?
Should we role play, Rob?
Yeah, let's role play.
Okay, so I will say our price, and then you're going to say it's too high, right? Like, what do you want to hire me for, Rob?
To design everything for me, for my YouTube channel, my branding, for all my personal.
So, Rob, you need a complete branding package for your YouTube channel. Fantastic. So typically projects like this, a very similar situation, it's going to be like $30,000 more if you want more, but that's the baseline. Does that price work for you, Rob?
It's a little high. Not gonna lie to you, man. It's a little too high.
I respect that. So what is a little high for you?
It's a little high for me. Okay, so now you want me to say my number. I was thinking more around 10,000.
Wow. Okay, so Rob, we're miles apart here, obviously. Was there any particular reason why you thought I needed to do it? Because I'm sure you can find a lot of people who could do it for 10,000, maybe even less, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, everyone else that I'm talking to is around that price range, around $10,000, $12,000.
Okay. And so is your decision solely going to be based on the price?
On the quality of the work too. That's why we reach out to you guys. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to be 3 times as much expensive as everybody else. In your mind, do you think we're 3 times better than everybody else?
I'd hire you anyway, but yes.
Don't break character, dude. Do not break character.
Man. Hard to role play. I hate role playing.
Do it for the people.
I know. You know what? Your work is good. I love your work. But it's out of our budget. It's out of our budget.
I got to respect that. Yeah, I got to respect it. So here's what I think. If you have a lot of time and not a lot of money, you probably can work with one of these companies that do it for $10,000. And as much as I'd like to tell you my work's all different and amazing and better than that, that's not for me to say and wouldn't be right. So if money is a big driver of this and quality is sort of, I would say just go with one of them. And if it doesn't work out and you feel like you didn't get what you wanted or they didn't treat you well, come call me. I'll be here. Only thing you'll lose is a little time and a little bit more money is all. If that's the risk you're willing to take, I'm good with that. Are you?
No.
Don't cave. Do not cave, Rob, because they'll give you a hard time later. Like, oh, guy, what a pushover, you know. But that's usually how it goes. That's how it
Yeah,
goes,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So
But I'm
basically,
curious though.
the lesson
I have
here
a
is that
question for you.
you're willing to walk away. Like, be willing to walk away.
Yeah, I don't want to walk away. I'm trying, you know, I'm trying my best to stay in this, but I can't make you see value where you don't see value. So earlier, you
Yeah.
remember that question, like, what should we do to help them? I'm like, well, what's helpful to them? I didn't get into full like my role play mode because it's probably too much for what we're doing. I just wanted to show you like how I would respond to a real client, and clients do this all the time. I don't know if you noticed though. Every time I say something difficult, I kind of smile. I try to acknowledge that Rob feels pain around this, and I'm okay with that. I want to be really open. And I don't want to be pushy either. So that's generally the mindset that I have, because look, I truly believe this. I believe I could do something for Rob that's going to be better than anybody else is going to do it. I believe in my heart. And if you don't believe that, go get the skills. Go get the skills first. Get trained by somebody. Read a book, watch a video, do something to learn what it is that you need so that you feel like you have an unfair competitive advantage over every other Joe Schmo that shows up to bid on this thing. And I feel that. And maybe in some way, I'm communicating this in a nonverbal way in these little micro expressions that I'm sending out to Rob, and he feels it. It's like, dude, I'll give you the money right now. It's like,
Yeah.
so my question to you, Rob, is why do you want to pay me so much money? Like, why are you so ready to say yes to me? I'm curious. In the role play, that is.
Yeah, in the role play, yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would have been the work that I've seen already.
Okay. So body of work.
Yeah, your body of work,
Yeah.
what you've done for other clients.
Yeah.
I would imagine I would have spoken to some of the people that you worked with, or on your portfolio.
Yes.
So all of that backstory, that's why I would. So.
Okay, so that's a good thing for everybody that's listening to this and watching this episode is, have you done a good job of telling your story to your prospective client? Have you done that? Because what you just described to me was 90% of the battle had been won prior to us even talking. So the body of work, the results we've gotten, how have you done that? Have you made it easy for people to find you and to understand this story? Okay. And we know this. Quality of work is highly subjective. It's so subjective that a panel of jurists can't even agree as to what's the best work submitted for a competition of supposed professionals who are here to decide. That's how subjective it is. So you got to look at all the other things that matter to people. Look at the results you've been able to accomplish, or write about the experience of the process so people start to understand. In a world of oranges, you're an orangutan. It's like you're totally different. Be completely different.
Be different. That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. Our good friend D Niman, one of our partners here that we work really close, he says, Rob, you don't break character until the DVD commentary. So true. Yes.
Spoken like a true professional. D, thanks for keeping him straight, man.
Yeah, totally. He's just going to be on me. Garden Buck says, my 7-year-old girl's watching beside me. That's awesome. It's good. Got a question here from Tap Click Studio.
Okay.
What are some ways to build trust with your virtual online students when starting out? So people that, you can't do the pay what you can because they don't know you, right?
Yeah.
They don't know you yet. So what are some of those ways to build trust with a new audience that you want to teach to in your paid courses and workshops?
Okay. If we take this question and we break it apart and understand all the key words in there, the first group of words I'm looking at is build trust. And I think in normal life, how do we build trust with people? Well, we say what we're going to do, and then we do what we say, and we do consistently enough over time. I think this builds trust. If you say to somebody, I will show up every single day at your office at 7 a.m. and I'm ready to work, and I'll work until the very last minute of the time I'm supposed to work, and you do that over a period of time, people trust you. So you have to show up and you have to do what you say, and you have to be consistent about it. So if it's about teaching people, you got to show up and you got to present and you got to prepare. That's part of showing up, and you got to give it a lot of enthusiasm and energy and try to deliver a lot of value to people. So people start to think, gosh, Rob knows what he's talking about. This is really smart. And I feel like if I were to take one of his courses, given how much value I've gotten from the free content, it's probably going to be at least as good. It might even be better, but even if it's just as good, I'm happy. And I'm also happy to support Rob in his endeavor because I want to see more content from him. And we feel this. I think generally speaking, this is a broad statement here, people don't like getting things for free, even though they say they do, because there's the law of reciprocity. If Rob gives me something, at some point, I want to give something back. Let's think about church, for example. There's no obligations to give them any money, but a lot of people suggest 10% of your income, or give what you have whenever you have. And so if you're feeling like you're spiritually like uplifted, or you feel more optimistic about the world, you have a better kind of frame of mind, or that was a meditative moment for you, you give. And that's how things work. So this doesn't matter if it's online or if it's in real life. You have a relationship. People who are watching this channel, who have tuned in, have a relationship with Rob and his guests. This is how this works. Okay. So when you're starting out, do yourself a favor. Just give out of generosity, and have zero expectations of yourself and of the community. And if you keep doing this over time, you're going to be surprised at who shows up.
I like it. Yeah. So just give. I mean, these are things that we should all be doing anyway. So it's a good question. Thanks for that question. Let me see here. I'm just going to go through here. I want to touch on, there was a really good piece today, I think, in your talk with Emily Cohen about.
Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, I caught the last end, a little bit
nice.
of it, but it was good that you guys were, man, you like addressed it and kind of hit home for me, because I bring on a lot of guests on our show, and you know, I think you mentioned that you guys are being way more strict with vetting your guests.
Yes.
So for all the live streamers out there, people that are collaborating and stuff like that with people, you know, what's some advice around that? Like, how do you vet? I think you mentioned they have to be a published writer or a speaker in that sense. You know, so maybe just repeat some of that thing, you know, some of the advice that you shared in that live stream.
Yeah, let me give some context. You're building a relationship with your audience every single day, whether you post on Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever, you're building a relationship. So if you keep putting out content that's all filler, no killer, just a lot of just garbage, and you're not getting to the point where you're not funny or you're not engaging with your content, people are going to tune out. And after a while, there could be a really good video that comes out from you, and they're not going to tune in. Okay, so you got to start working on your craft. And if you put out videos that aren't like really good, just put them unlisted. That's okay. So we used to, and used to being quite recent actually, if somebody smiled at me, I'll put them on the show. I'm not that critical about who comes on the show. We'd get into conversation, and I'd find out during the conversation, like, I got very little value from this, and I'm trying so hard. Either they don't have a lot to say, they're not very engaging, or they just don't want to reveal like anything that's of use to anybody. Or the other thing too that the people do is they're not vulnerable, and they're fronting, and I don't like that. And so we kind of started to shift strategies that I actually get more views from videos that I make without any guests, because I show up. I know what I'm going to do, and I don't have to entertain another person sharing what it is they know or don't know. So the rule that we have in place right now is we only want people who are kind of proven entities. We want people who are writers, people who have authored a book, who have given a presentation or do podcasting or streaming, and they're used to doing this and teaching. So now it's like we're being a lot more strict in terms of like who we're going to put on the camera with us. And that's why you're going to probably see a string of writers and people who give presentations, because they put in the work. Now, some people have that gift of gab, and they can show up. They've got a lot of funny stories, and they're really good at improvising. The truth is, not many of those people show up on our channel. So now we want people to be structured, to be prepared, and to know what the heck they're talking about. Oftentimes too, the cameras roll and the lights hit them in the face, and they just freeze up. It makes for an awkward experience for everybody, especially our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good advice, man. Like you are like you're in charge of like the content that you share with your audience. So it's really important that you bring in awesome guests and people that know their stuff. So I like what you guys are doing there. Okay, I want to wrap it up very soon, because we're getting close to about an hour here. Yep. I want to talk about leadership, because I think it's good to kind of leave off on a good word here about leadership, and how right now, man, like there's a lot of negativity, a lot of panic, a lot of scrambling going on. And, you know, I see your content, your demeanor, you guys are very calm. You know, you guys talk very strategic and intentional. And so I want to just, you know, some advice as we wrap up from you for people out there that are rising up as leaders, and, you know, not in the sense of just like leading, you know, but like their clients are looking to them. Like, what are we doing? You know, I think somebody said, like, in an airplane, when there's like turbulence, you always look to the flight attendants. If they're calm, then you're calm,
Yeah.
So what's your advice on leadership, during these tough times for businesses, for a lot of content creators out there that people are looking to, as we wrap it up today?
Yeah, I think the same is said on set when you're on a film set. If the crew is calm, the talent is calm, and the director is calm. And there could be a whole storm brewing, the engine could be on fire, or there's no film in the camera, but everyone's going to stay calm. And why do we do that? Are we being untruthful to ourselves? No. I think it's because when we're in a heightened emotional state, the cortisol kicks in, all kinds of weird decisions are being made, driven by an emotional fear of what may or may not happen. And we'll do the dumbest things. Right. My business coach used to tell me, because he used to be a lifeguard and work with people in impacted communities. He would say, like, a kid would drown in a pool when they're literally an arm's length away from the coping of the pool. Because what happens is when you start to drown, you swim in all kinds of weird directions instead of doing the one thing that's going to save your life, which is assess the situation and figure out what's the best most likely thing to get you out of the jam. And so we just need to think about that right now. Okay. We do communicate in a very calm way, and we try to be as intentional as possible. But if we aren't, what we're doing is we're sending the signal out to the world, like we're just as afraid, and people tune in just as much for that, but it's not really helping anybody. And I think we also have to acknowledge something, that we live in a time where everything's really uncertain. Like, who could have predicted 9/11? Who could have predicted the crash in 2008, the market crash, the subprime mortgage fallout? So it's an illusion that things are more stable than they are. And I think what we have to do is just start to become more cognizant that things are fast moving, from technology, from environment, like the greenhouse stuff, everything that's going on. We live in fast changing times, and it's only going to get faster. So if we can do ourselves a favor and acclimate to what's going on, to be ready for change, to embrace it, to introduce little bits of change to us every single day, so we become more accustomed to it. So there's a little muscle memory that you build up. That's a good thing. So for me, being a refugee from Vietnam and moving, I think every year and a half when I was growing up, there was a lot of instability. But what that did was it prepared me to be more resilient in life. And now these things come and go. And it's like, it's not going to really phase me. So you could say that in that way, I've been battle tested, and you could do this for yourself. So if you're running a company, just understand that security and stability is an illusion. So introduce little bits of innovative ideas of change to shake things up from time to time so that you are prepared. We do drills to prepare for earthquakes and fires. This is the same thing. We're going to do a drill for our company. And then leadership at that point, having been through this several times, can say with a calm voice and a steady hand to the group of people who are looking up to them, we've been here before. We're going to get through this. I'm going to figure out a plan. And when I do, I need everybody's help to rally together and do the best that they can. And if this makes you scared, I respect your right to be scared. And if this is not the right place for you, I also respect that you need to find a place that works for you. For the rest of you, we will march forward and we will get through this, and we'll be stronger after the fact.
I love it. It's great, man. Good word. And one last question here from our good friend D.
D's back.
D's back. Hey, Chris, you're a great teacher. Did you learn your style of teaching from a mentor or a coach, or is it a natural style that you developed over time?
Great question. Man, that's a great question. And of course, I have to answer this question.
A
lot of people do not know this about me. I started teaching, I think, in 2000. So I was a teacher for 15 years before I started doing YouTube. And of course, everybody has their rookie year, a little shaky, uncertain of myself, just not sure if I can offer any real value to people. But over time, you get used to things. And then you start to experiment. And what I want to do is I want to make learning fun. And I've had some really great teachers in the past who would say outrageous things, sometimes cross the line, sometimes be belligerent. So I wanted a mix of what I think is a great public speaker with a comedian, with a great educator, and push them all together to create safe space to learn, but also to be able to have fun. And so those of my students over those 15 years have seen all kinds of funny, goofy bits where I make fun of people. I make fun of myself. I do outrageous things. I stand on the table sometimes to make a point. We have people mime out their storyboard, and it's goofy as hell for sure. But to realize all that fear and that uncertainty that we're feeling was just mostly in our mind. And you all walk away just fine. You still have 10 fingers and 10 toes, a nose and 2 eyes. You're still good. And so I developed that over time. And I really like to do that. A good comedian works a bit, a comedy bit, and then builds a set around that bit and just keeps going back. You'll see this with some of the best, where they go and they'll make fun of like one small group and then they'll tie it into this group. And throughout it, there's a theme that builds up over and over. And it's really nice to be able to see that, how their mind works and tying up and weaving all those parts together. I aspire to be that kind of public speaker and educator.
Awesome. Good answer, man. Thanks for sharing that. So that's it. I think, Dee, thank you so much for that question. We're going to wrap it up, man. Thank you so much. We've gone way over like an hour here. So as we wrap up, where can people connect with you, kind of see what you're happening, what you guys are working on? I'm going to share the screen with your channels and stuff. So go ahead and let's bring this one home.
Yeah, so I think there's 3 places you're going to be able to find us. The first is to go to our YouTube channel. We have 2 of them. It's the Future is Here, or no E, remember, drop the ego. We also have the Academy channel, which is really design content, tutorials, and how-tos. There it is. Thanks for bringing that up. So you guys can see that Greg Gunn just dropped a video on color and building color palettes. It's super funny and fun. You got to check that out. You can also find us on our website, thefutur.com. And there you can see a list of there's our mission. You can see our courses, and we have some free courses, especially for people right now. It's like, I don't know if I could trust this guy, but I kind of am interested and curious. Take one of our free courses. And if that intrigues you and you think we're doing a good job, consider buying a course from us. Everything on the site right now for this period that we're all experiencing is 20% off. So there's no better time to buy than right now. And if you happen to be a student or veteran, we have those programs. All you have to do is apply for them. And I think you get a 35% discount, something like that. It's pretty good. It's better than any other discount we've ever given. So we're all trying to get through this together. We want to help you learn and grow as a creative professional. And if you like what I'm doing, you can also follow me on social media. I'm at @VChrisDo on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, I don't know where else, but pretty much everywhere else.
Awesome. Chris, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it. I know you guys are super busy right now over at the Future, so I appreciate all the time that you shared here. Guys, everybody that was live, thank you for hanging out with us. If you're watching this on the replay, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. We are monitoring them and making sure that they are answered for you. If we need to send it over to Chris and his team, we'll do that for you guys. All right, so Chris, thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody, we'll talk to you in the next session.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for the hookup on TubeBuddy. I recommend it to everybody. Use it to help optimize your channel, guys.